I mean, that must have been. I mean, regardless of the money. I mean, I guess it also kind of, we think about MLS now, very different league. Obviously, the at that point, the Galaxy haven't even opened up what was the Home Depot Center to start. Right? You're
Right.
still playing Rose Bowl games at that point.
Rose
Yeah.
Bowl games, and we're training in the Ball Diamond. They had a baseball field
Right.
at the Rose Bowl next door, and that's where we would train.
That's incredible, and the crowds are tiny compared to the size of the Rose Bowl, but still,
Yes.
how much of that how much of that felt like making it for you, or were you kind of still in that,
Are you
you know,
kidding me? I walked around like I'm living in LA, I'm like, holy shit. Actually, I'm living in Santa Monica at the time, and the reason I was living in Santa Monica was because my grandparents, who were alive back then, they rented a 1 bedroom on the outskirts of Santa Monica, rent control.
okay,
Like there's no way they could have afforded today. But rent control back then made it so I could have a place to crash. If the landlord had found out that I had been living there, um, they could have taken the place away from him. So I literally lived
wow,
out of my car. My closet was in my car, and I would sleep on the living room floor. And I did this gratefully, and gladly, um, for that year while I was there, as long as I could that year and the following year. And I would do like an hour to training. I mean, I would take the 2 to the 5 to the 134 to get to Pasadena. It'd be like
yeah.
an hour and something in traffic. The 10, excuse me, to the 5 to the 2 to the
Oh yeah, if
134.
you didn't get
Crazy.
that exactly right, I was totally going to call you on all of
Yeah.
the, yeah.
But the thing is, I would take all these freeways and do an hour, and if not more, in traffic every single day, and I thought I was like, holy shit, I had made it, and I'm sitting here making $860,000. I'm sorry, 860 $100. Did I say that right? Yes.
I don't know what you're saying. It doesn't matter. It's not a lot of money. Let's just be
I'm making
clear
under
about
nine
it.
hundred dollars gross a month, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm thinking in my head, I made it. I'm with the Galaxy. Like, holy shit, this is awesome. And I'm living in LA, and everything's so like new, and then there's like, you know, everything you would think LA is supposed to be. And here I am, and I'm thinking to myself, I made it. And it's a matter of time until like things change for me.
Yeah, I mean, so that's just the beginning, though. Obviously, in terms of your professional career, and I don't know if we're going to spend another hour breaking it all down. I kind of want to get to the World Cup. I want to talk about the move to Mexico. You already kind of hit on it, right? Going back to Mexico, and it just being in a very different place. What were your emotions around that move, right? Because when it comes up, the possibility of going back and playing in Mexico, imagine that you went back to being 19 and in that picture in your head.
Yeah, yeah, almost, because I had nothing. It was a much different moment. So I had spent some time now in Major League Soccer. I'd been a bit more established. I played with the national team in the Copa America. I'd won a couple titles with the LA Galaxy. Um, I was coming off my very first like injury. I tore my ACL in Colorado, and I'd been traded shortly after the Kansas City, and that preseason, I had a meniscal tear, and I remember another knee surgery, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh man, and I didn't feel like I was right leading into that season, and then things went very south for us, and it kind of got pushed out of the picture where I wasn't playing much, if at all, under Peter Vermes, and we went from having a situation where I was negotiating a new 4-year deal to them kind of pulling it, and hey, here's the next 4-year deal, take it or leave it, 70 grand a year flat, having negotiated kind of, you know double if not more, and it would increment every single year. They kind of pull it that way, and I'm thinking to myself like, they're just basically telling me to go die.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do this deal. I'm not going to do it. And I went back to Vegas and started square one, kind of like I was, after I, came back from that picture. And um, it was actually Ralph Perez again who reached out and told me like, oh, I'm sorry, this was not Ralph Perez. That was the first go around. It was actually after that time that it was the assistant coach for the team I used to play for in that Puebla team reached out and had asked me what my situation was. And he'd asked me if I had a Mexican passport now, and I said yes. I got my Mexican passport now, and asked me if I'd be up for trying Mexico again. And this time it's kind of me just saying like, well, I don't really have another option. And Puebla came about. There was an
Well,
opportunity at Puebla.
was the passport thing connected to football? I mean, were you thinking about your future with that?
Always, always.
So
So yeah,
after your trip as a teenager, you went and got your passport so you could have the chance of going back.
I believe I got my passport in Denver, my Mexican passport. I was
Okay.
playing with, yeah, there was some interest from Tigres at that time.
Okay.
And the Rapids kind of, Fernando Clavijo
Yeah.
kind of pushed me to get in that Mexican passport. It's funny because if you see like, we played an exhibition game, one of those, they invite Mexican teams out and whatnot, and they make a facade, a fake little trophy, and they'll give it to the winner and whatnot. Um, that's the only game that I've was captain for the Colorado Rapids, where they made me the captain against Tigres. Like, hey, if you want him, he's yours. Trying to promote me and sell me. So I had my Mexican passport. It happens. I get to Puebla. Not a lot of money. 6-month contract. I got there a month late, so it's a 5-month contract. And things just changed. It's not even like they clicked. They just changed. It was a situation where I'm not known. I felt like I was back the first go around in Mexico. I felt like these things that I needed to work on are still evident that I need to work on, especially in the tactical setup.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like they're speaking a foreign language, and I spoke Spanish. Like
Yeah.
if you're an American and you get dumped into the UK and there's rhyme cockney, you have no idea what that is. There's albur in Mexico and
Mm.
Mexican culture, and it just feels like everything's going so fast in the game and whatnot. And
Yeah.
but all I know is when I come on the field, I'm dangerous. I'm the same player I've always been, for better or worse. I'm dangerous. I'm getting opportunities, and I've just started scoring. And what was crazy was I started scoring in Major League Soccer, and I always found it like to be a thrill. When I first started scoring goals in Major League Soccer, I thought it was like crazy that I'm around LA and people would recognize me. They'd have to be diehard fans, but they would recognize me.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Oh my god, they recognize me. I can't go out now in Puebla. I'm thinking to myself like, oh fuck, they really recognize me. Like this is this could be a problem.
Yeah.
And with that attention comes a different type of attention, like agents, reporters, uh, people trying to offer you things as far as sponsors. So now I'm thinking to myself like, this is a whole different world, and it opens up my eyes. And that's really when Puebla's really when I started seeing the sport as more than just something I wanted to try to do.
Did you do you think about I mean, it's like one of those things where you have some success, things go well for you, and you don't want to look too closely at it because you don't want to ruin the magic of it or whatever. I mean, obviously, you're a pretty good player, right? You've had a professional career to that point. You scored a bunch of goals in Major League Soccer. No reason not to be confident. But do you ever think about it at the time where you like, okay, why is this happening now? Or is it just like, all right, ride the wave?
A little of both. I kind of I'm very thankful it happened at that age of 27 years old when I really broke out, that way. Just because there are things that kind of prepared me to handle the attention, prepared
Yeah.
me to handle certain things that came my way on and off the field that I don't think I would have been ready for at such a young age.
Yeah.
And I was hardened, if you will.
You're a wily vet at that point.
Well,
Yeah.
no, not a wily vet in the sense, but the World Cup's the ultimate mecca, right? So when I go into that 30-man camp, I have this mentality about me. I have this huge chip on my shoulder from everything I've experienced. So
Hmm.
I'm not taking anything for granted. Like, you know, it, it's like I'm gonna eat your lunch, you're not gonna eat mine. I remember going to the 30-man camp, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but I remember 30-man camp. I felt like I had been in zero camps, 0 minutes. These players don't know me.
Yeah.
I don't feel I'm not part of this team. I'm taking somebody's spot. So if it was a finishing drill, I had to be the best. In my mind, I had to come top three always. If it was a fitness drill, I had to do the same. I always had to do something where they were like, "Oh shit, that kid stood out again." And it was driven home when we're in Hartford, Connecticut, and we're going to play against the Czech Republic. it's 1 through 30 is the numbering system in the national team for the 30-man camp. I walk in and I'm looking at the names and the numbers and I'm looking for mine, and I get to my locker and it's number 30. And it's like, there you go, fucking last man. That's you right now, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
So I needed, everything that I experienced kind of mentally, I was in that position, and this is what you have to do. This is who you are. And I continued that mentality, because if you look at Champions League, like every time I played against a Major League Soccer team in CONCACAF Champions League, I
Hmm.
wanted to make a point, like I was hard done. I wanted to make a point like I had a chip on my shoulder, something to prove. And to this day, if you look at the numbers, if there's a Mexican player who has more goals against an MLS team in their history, it's me.
Yeah.
And I'm Mexican American, you know?